All right, so where do you want to start this evening?
All right, I was thinking that let's see if I can show you how to get coverage a little bit faster, and we can kind of see if your test actually hits those lines of code we thought it was going to.
Okay.
And I think it should be a little bit smoother than last time because we should be able to get a little bit faster of a feedback loop. I hope. How was your past week?
It was very good.
That's good. My little vacation was nice.
Didn't you go to Burning Man or something?
Yeah, I went to Burning Man with my girlfriend. It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Saw lots of fun art and stuff.
I've never been. I'd like to go someday.
It's pretty awesome. Like it's pretty, I don't know. I think there's something for everyone.
How many people are there?
Or 80,000, I think. So it's huge. Cool. So you want to screen share? I think I can show you how we can run your test in isolation and still get the test coverage. And I think it will be just world of difference in terms of how fast it is. Hopefully.
All right. Got it.
Let's start here with. So we were trying to update the promises test to hit that additional line of FS promises, right?
Correct.
So what I was thinking is let's start by commenting out your test so that we're kind of at the baseline.
All right.
This should be where it was sitting. And for folks listening, we ran build earlier today, right?
Yep.
And we're back to not having coverage. Cool. So what we should be able to do from your terminal is run /node to run the local version of Node that's been built. And then space test/parallel /test-fs-promises.
And do I need to add that .js?
I don't think it would matter either way. I'd assume the JS extension. So let's try running that and just make sure the tests run. That's good. So what we should be able to do now is add a new prefix to the front of that. So we can hit up once in the history, and then Control-A to go to the front of the line. And what we're going to type in is all uppercase node _ v8 _ coverage equals, you don't need the space. Equals, and then we're going to put it in a folder just called, I think, cov.
Call it what?
Just cov, C-O-V, or coverage, or whatever. I think that should be fine. So then we should be able to run the tests again. Hitting enter, and then if we ls the cov folder, you should see lovely. So what we're going to see is the coverage information there. So if we cat that coverage -43736 deal, see Node has a built-in feature. I've built into Node now with the help of some other folks. We actually output coverage instantly now instead of going through that whole build process. So what I'm going to do is get you to install the tool for actually making a pretty report from this. So that it's actually a little more consumable than this, which is hard to read. So if we go npm I.
Let me also get back to my root directory.
Yeah, if we go npm I C8, the letter C and the number 8, and hit enter.
Now, do I need to install that globally?
You shouldn't need to. You can have it locally. It doesn't like there's no package.json there, but that shouldn't be a problem. What I'm going to try to do now is how best do this. What we're gonna do is we're gonna run C8. Actually, let's go back to the front line. It's gonna be in the node modules folder. So you can go /node modules node_modules.bin/C8 should be there. Space, and we're gonna run the command report. And we're going to give it the directory. So we're going to go --temp-directory.
-- what?
You can go --help, and it will show. We can show you. But we're going to set the --temp-directory. See it second from the bottom. And we're going to set that to just the cov folder we just made. And I think it needs an equal. Well, I don't think it actually matters. Equals /cov, yeah. And go ahead and hit enter. Well, that's a little weird. What do you think here? Oh, I know what the problem might be. Bear with me a second here. Might need to do some surgery. We're going to give it a different base directory. So we're going to tell it that the --coverage. Oh, where are we? We're going to say hit up once and say --resolve. Oh, you still need to give it the temp directory too. Yeah, you can do it right after that. And we're going to go --resolve, and we're going to tell it to resolve to. Let me get in the node directory for a second. You can tell it to resolve to /lib. Yeah, let's try that. And it might still be eliminating the files before a little prematurely. Let me take one quick look here. If you cat that coverage directory, cat cov, then the file in that coverage directory. Yeah, there should be a file in there. And just cat that to, if you then pipe that to JSON so that we get the pretty output. You go, pipe and then send it to the JSON tool. Or we might have to install that if it's not on your computer already. Okay, if you type mpmi JSON-G, yeah, then you can do the command that piped it to JSON, and this will just give us pretty output. And then what I wanted to see, if we scroll up a little bit, was just the file names, which are going to be at the top of. It's going to be up a little further after all these function outputs. Oh, down a bit. I think I saw one. Oh, no, not function name. There should be file name in there somewhere. Could do a grep probably if we had to. It's actually called URL in this format. If you do a if you do the same thing you did and then type it to grep and URL, yeah, that should work. Then we can kind of see what the file names are. And I'm finding it weird that we're not successfully getting any of the output. Sure. Maybe I should follow along on my computer.
You want me to stop sharing?
No, I'm not. Give me 2 secs. can do it on your computer. So let's see here. So the files we care about are, I find this interesting. We care about path, we care about FS, and what we were trying to do is rewrite it to a new directory. So what I think we can do is, let me look at C8, see where we might have missed the boat here. Oh, do you know, I see the problem. Okay, I'm gonna make a patch release of this for the purposes of this conversation. The problem is that we are removing the file from the purge results before we've actually resolved it to the new path you provided. So I'm just going to stop doing that. And I think I know how I'm going to stop doing that. I'm just releasing a patch release of this so that we can start to see the results on this call. Just going to make sure that the tests still pass. Okay, that's good. Cool. All right, I'm going to go ahead and push that. I'm just publishing a patch release of this module that I think should work better for the Node code base itself. Stick for 2 seconds here.
And you're doing that in C8?
What's that?
You're doing the patch in C8 or Node?
I did it in C8. I had to release a patch release. Oh, 1 second. Okay, yeah, go ahead and install C8 again, mpmi C8 at 3.0.3, I think. Oh, so it's 3.0.4. My bad. Actually, if you just do at latest, you should get the newest one, I think. It should be 3.0.4. Yeah, that's good.
Yep.
So let's try running that command we were running earlier if you hit up a few times. I think it will stop up a couple more times. Actually run the C8 command, the report command. Because I think it should, oh, it was there. Go down a bit. There we go. And we need the resolve command too, though. And we want to resolve it to /lib, I believe. We're going to try that, and then we're going to play around if that doesn't work. There we go.
Nice.
A lot better.
Oh my God, it's a bazillion times faster.
Yeah, so what we're going to do now is we're going to run an HTML report again, and we're going to look at that promises file. So to run an HTML report instead, we do the exact same thing we just did, but you can give it space -- reporter equals HTML. Go ahead and hit enter. And now there should be a open coverage / index.html should give you what we're looking for.
All right, let me bring my browser window over.
Yeah. So, it looks like it's still, looks like we didn't actually clean up the coverage. So we're actually This is the instrumented files. This isn't the end of the world. This is fine. We can just look at that file. We can still test our hypothesis. It's just going to be much harder to read. So this, if we scroll way down past this object, the reason this is in here is because we've instrumented the lib folder for coverage the old way, and it looks like we just didn't quite clean up after ourselves. So this is but we can still see most of what we were trying to do. Now, to refresh people, we were trying to hit a line of coverage on the read, right?
Correct, in read.
Yeah. Here we are.
And it was, this one was the main one we were looking for, and this.
Yeah. Okay. So what we can do now is we can try to run our test with that new test we've written and see if it actually hit any new lines of code. So all the steps to do this are basically, we can save that. And if we go to our terminal, we can again hit up a bunch of times because we're looking for the line that ran tests with the node_v8 coverage bit, which we did at the very start of this whole little exercise. There we go. But one more thing I want to do, if we go to the front of that line, I just want to type in rm space -rf space cob, then just a semicolon after the cob, and a space. And there we go. So that's just going to remove our last coverage run before we run the new tests again, so that we don't end up with a bunch of files in that directory. So then we should be able to, if we ls the cov directory again, we should see just the report from our most recent run. Great. And then we can run our reporter again and regenerate that HTML file. There we go. So that's all there is to it. So now we can go right to the browser and just refresh that index page and see if our test actually exercised any of those new lines. Look at that.
Yay!
We hit a new line, didn't we?
Yes.
So
what, what's the yellow mean?
Yellow means, well, a couple things. It's definitely in the wrong place, so the stuff's still a little bit buggy. But yellow is a missing branch versus a missing line.
Okay.
So I think that it looks like our line numbering is a little like wonky in this file, but we're getting the gist of what's happening.
Okay.
So I think that would mean, not quite sure what the branches were missing. I think it's actually that somewhere in the file the lines have been juggled somewhat. I think because of that massive object at the front of the file. If we scroll to the very top. What's fun is, let's go to the very top of the file in the browser. Just scroll to the top. And see how we have 98.77% of statements hit, 59.55 of 60.29.
Yep.
Let's just comment out your test again and just kind of show that number change. So we should go down below 59, 55 after you comment out your test. So just to kind of show what's happening for people.
All right, so move that, come back over, comment out my code.
Yeah.
All right, now do we have to run the node test again?
Yeah. There we go. And, oh, where were we?
And then we have to do the resolve, right?
Oh, yeah, I think you just got a little far above in your history. If you hit Control C, should still be in the history. So hit up once more or twice more. Yeah, there we go. Let's run that. Oh, down twice. That command, yeah. Oh, up one. There, that command will run the test again. And then we can twice, I think, and we'll be able to run the report again. Or looks like 3 times. There we go. And that's the right one to run the report. And then you can just go to your web browser and actually, you don't have to reopen the coverage file because they're going to have the same path. So you can just hit the refresh button. And there we go. A few less lines hit. You see that? It went from 59.55 to 59.47. There we go. And that's much less frustrating than our our attempts last Monday.
Exactly, and I'm so excited because then that means my very first test I wrote works.
Yeah, that's lovely. Let's go back to the terminal and let's figure out why we're let's figure out why we still have stuff instrumented for tests. So let's go git status here. Something's a little weird. Okay. Yeah. Git checkout lib. Yeah. And then I'd probably rm-rf. No, do we need to RF? No, we don't need to really. I'd just do a make now. And hopefully it's not the world's most painful make.
So it's just going to be the make-J4.
Yeah, and what this should do is rebuild your node binary with the non-covered code in it. You'll see if it doesn't take too long. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. But in the meantime, we'll let that run. Well, actually, let's see if it actually tries to build V8, because that's what takes forever. It looks like it's not trying to build. Oh, it was fast. Great. So now if we hit up until we hit the run test bit, which is, I think up one more than that. There we go. We run run that one. And then if we run the coverage one again, the C8 bit. Yeah, that one. Now if you go to the web browser, it should be a little more consumable because it won't have the coverage in it anymore. So it should be not have that really weird starting bit. And let's go down to our read.
There it is.
Not quite sure what shuffling. This is stuff for. These are bugs for me to report to probably myself or to the Chrome team. Just the offsets are a little bit off. Like the yellow should probably be not where the yellow is, but it did show us what we needed to show us, which is that we hit a new line of code, which is great. Cool.
Well, that's both encouraging and discouraging at the same time. One, encouraging because the first test that I wrote worked. And then the other one, I kept playing with it and I could, using the old test, could never get it to work for this one. So I punted on my second test. So I need to go back and look at some of my old files and see if I can find out what I had put in originally for that second test. But if not tonight, then what I can definitely do is have it, let's see, not tomorrow, but the day after tomorrow, I can work on it again. But my goal is to go ahead and get that one in.
Let's go back to your tests one more time now that we have the non-instrumented code base, if you don't mind. I just want to watch that line go to red again, just for my own. This is actually me QAing this work in Node, to be honest.
So you want me to comment out my test again?
Last time, I just want to see it in the non-instrumented. Or was the test already commented out?
It was.
Cool, yeah, let's uncomment that. And save it. Cool. And what changes in our HTML report after that if we go to the browser? It was read that we were working on, right? Yeah.
It was this one right here.
Yeah, so that was hit.
So yeah, so we don't have the yellow lines on it now.
Okay, cool. And I think that's just because it was a one-liner. So we actually basically increased the, just because it's a one-line statement, we increased the, we did increase the coverage, which is great.
Excellent.
Cool.
All right, and I will get, day after tomorrow, I'll get this one going too.
That's great. But we have a little bit faster of a turnaround here, which is nice.
All right, now here's a question for you is, can I go ahead and submit a pull request just for this one?
I think that'd be perfectly reasonable.
All right, do we want to put a comment in it? Because most of the other ones on here don't have comments.
I think to leave the campsite cleaner and add a comment for what we're exercising. Just like we were doing in the McDirt code base. So I would add a comment there.
Come on, cat.
I mean, I guess this is when 0 bytes is red.
My cat is just like all over my keyboard. All right. So we've got a comment. We're under 80 characters.
Looks good to me. If we do a get diff, what's different in our code base right now? Is that the only file changed too? Yeah, go ahead. Get status. Is that the only modified file? Yeah, that's good. Cool. What would I do? One other thing. So I'm just looking at this test. What's in my mind, just in terms of feedback before we make the poll. I'll try read as 0 bytes instead of reads as 0 bytes. A typo there. Read as 0 bytes. Or I guess it's when length is 0 byte, isn't it? It's a 0 byte length. If I recall the function signature.
Or do we want to just say when the
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? So I'm just looking at I think we could get away with, let's see here.
Because it's not really that the buffer length is 0. It's the length of characters that you want to read, because that's the third parameter that you're passing in to read.
exactly. Yeah.
So
That's what I was thinking too. Is we might be able to make the test slightly simpler. Just give me 1 second here. I'm not gonna open the Node code base myself. The promises code base. Sorry, just take 1 second to find everything here.
here you go.
Oh, cool. 1 second. Bear with me. Fs. Alright. Let's see here. So I guess the pertinent line of code we're trying to hit is when length is 0. So the test is test.
Yeah, we're trying to test to get when length is 0, which is the third parameter. And so over here, our third parameter is, excuse me, buff length. And so buff length is the length of our buffer. And our buffer, of course, is empty. So therefore, its length is 0. I mean, we could have just as easily hard-coded that to 0. But
that's where I think we could simplify this test a bit, because we're basically what we're trying to test is that this one line of code's hit when length is 0, and I think we're making it more confusing by having all these other things set to 0. So my temptation would be to do a non-zero buffer, just have like a regular buffer that's like foo or something. I don't know. Yeah, like hello world or foo or something.
Can I bring football into this?
Sure, I don't see any reason not to.
Okay.
And then I think what's nice is then we can get rid of that buffer length line, because that's that doesn't really matter that much to us. And then I guess I don't quite understand. I guess we still need buffer length for that alloc step?
Well, we could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, maybe we should keep the. Do we need to do a buffer.alloc there? Oh, because that's going to be a 0 length buffer. I think you can just pass in buff there, maybe. I guess I don't quite understand the API. Handle that rate buffer.
This right here, this line is not going to be. If we're going to make this a, something, then this right here, this test is going to fail.
Yeah.
So
the buffer.length seems smart.
well, what we can do is hard code that to be 0, because if we're telling it 0 here for the length, then what we want to do is the number of bytes read has to be equal to 0.
That makes sense to me. And what else is important is that the thing, because it just returns the buffer, you're just saying that the returned buffer should be the same as the original buffer we allocated, because that's the line of code's logic. This makes sense to me. Shall we see if the test still runs when we do that?
All right, let's do that.
Did we save already, or do you save on Blur?
Yeah, with my IntelliJ, as soon as I finish, it saves.
Something's not happy there.
So I didn't like it. Didn't like the line where actual expected buffer. So I guess that it this return buffer is empty, but this buffer has this string dogs win in it.
Let's take a look at. Let me take a quick look here. I have Node open right now. It does look like it just returns the same buffer though. Oh, do you know what? I see the issue, I believe. So I think that it's just a slight difference in logic. So I think you're allocating a new buffer here. I think for that first line there where you say buffer.alloc, buff.length, I think you just can pass in buff, buf. like without even the alloc. No alloc, yeah. Like you're, yeah, without, yeah, even the parentheses, because then that makes more sense to me. Okay. And then I think that what we were actually doing is we were passing in a buffer of the length of the buff, but it was being populated with all zeros just being allocated, whereas this is going to, I think, do what we think it was going to do. Maybe. We'll see.
All right, so ready to run again?
Yeah, let's try.
Oh.
We're a bit off, aren't we?
Let's make sure it's that one's the one that it's complaining about. No.
Well, what's the... Well, get rid of the assert itself there. Get rid of both asserts. It seems like a different comment. Yeah, see. So let's see here. Expected inputs to be strictly deep equal. Something's weird here. Test F's promises line 110. Well, this is interesting. Somehow affecting. If you get rid of all the lines of code, is it still all breaking? Seems like there's been some sort of regression. Oh, that's fine. So which line is actually, what would actually be breaking us here? Does that rely on return? Or let's just remove one line at a time. So let's get rid of the first one. Still works. And then we'll do the await of the handle. Okay, so there's what's a little bit weird. Oh, that's interesting. What is handle exactly? Let's go up a little bit. Where's handle actually?
Handle is defined, hold on, I've looked at that earlier. There.
Okay, let's I don't love that we're sharing the handle, right? Let's not write. Let's not perform the write step.
All right, but then don't you need to write it out to be able to read it in?
I don't understand what's going on with this shared handle. I think we'll probably want to create our own handle. I'm just curious what this might do. And then strict equal. I don't think those will be equal. I think it's reading from something else. Oh, no, it is. Okay. Interesting. This API is slightly weird to me. But I feel like the handle is rating to a file, right? Let me open up this file too. I don't know why we're sharing handle. So the handle is a file that we can write to.
See, and it's being used multiple times.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I think I see. I think the problem is that we're consuming 0 things from the open handle. So the handle still has the dogs win in it, and then that screws up the next test. So I think the problem is basically that we're reusing the same handle in both cases. And it was working because we were writing 0 things into the handle and then reading 0 things out of the handle, so that was working. So I'd be tempted to just make a new handle for this test. I don't see a reason why we need to where's test? I would add these two. I would basically create a new handle for the purpose of this test. I don't know. I would do something like this. I'm sharing it in Slack. So I'm basically suggesting that we create a new handle inside of our block, just so we're not sharing as much state between the 2 tests.
All right, so I created a new handle empty.
Yeah, and then the problem is that we need to define the test. We need to just define what dest is too, or we'll be sharing this because it needs a file name. So we can just make dest equal to, yeah, something like that. Yeah. Then what's going to happen is we're going to open that destination. We're going to write our buffer into that destination, and then we're going to read 0 bytes into the buffer.
All right, so then this line right here, we have the buffer dot from. Do I need to move the right above it?
I don't think so. This looks right.
Okay.
So you're creating a buffer from the string, then you're writing that string into the file that we've created, then you're reading into that buffer 0 bytes. It all looks right to me.
All right, ready to run it again?
Yeah, let's try. We got an error. What's it angry about?
So it can't find in test.temp 0 byte text. So I think that this handle, the temp directory, okay, maybe it is. All right, Kat, come on. It can't find in the test directory a temp directory. All right, so in test.
I have another thing. Oh, sorry. I'm not quite sure why it's not. Oh. Sorry, I'm just reading stuff here.
All right, there is in the temp directory .temp.3 a temp read empty file.txt.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going wrong there. Let's try one other thing just for my curiosity here. I want to test the theory. Let's get rid of the dest and the handle empty line. Go back to where we were. And then do me a favor here. Instead of reading 0 bytes, let's read buff length there.
All right, and then, so I,
Dot length, I think, not len.
oh, sorry, length. But then we need to go back to using a handle. All right. All that looks correct, right?
Yeah, and then the strict equal is no longer going to work. So I'd get rid of our two asserts. I just want to see if we stop screwing up the test after if we use the approach to get rid of our two asserts. I want to see if if my idea is right that no, that's not the problem at all. This is really leaky between these tests. These tests all kind of rely on each other. But they're doing buffer. We're essentially trying to do the exact same thing that the next test does. Bufflin, Bufflin. Let's try the alloc step as well. I want to see if we do the test below it. If we do exactly what the test below it's doing, so let's copy that whole test. Does that break the execution of the next test? And I think it won't. So then I want to work backwards to us reading 0 bytes instead of, there we go. So then that's great. Now let's try reading 0 bytes. And does that break the test directly below it?
Well, this test right here should fail.
Yeah, well, let's comment that out. Let's just see if they still are leaking onto each other. Yeah, that's good to me. That's good. So let's work backwards here, because that should be reading actually 0 instead of buff length, right? Lovely. And they should still be, the buffer should still be equal. All right, let's see if that works.
I think that last one's going to fail. And the reason why is the buffer that's going to be returned is null, and this buffer has hello FS promises in it.
Does it return null?
Well, if you're reading nothing, you're reading 0 bytes. So your return right here is going to be empty.
That makes sense.
So therefore, if you compare empty to something that has, you know, hello FS promises, you know, as a buffer, then
yeah, that makes sense.
so this would not work. Now, what if we go back and change this to this?
Well, do we need to assert that the buffers are equal if they're now different?
So if we go back and put this back in, then this test has to be taken out.
That sounds good to me. Because they shouldn't be the same. One should be empty and one should not be, right?
Correct. So that works. And then we want to check our coverage.
Yeah. I'd love to take a look at why this works and why our last one didn't work, though, afterwards. It's different in our approach. Yeah, let's take a look at the coverage. We should still be.
Oh, yes, right. Let me just go to my browser.
Yeah, you can just refresh it.
I think this is.
That's right.
I'm thinking this is not the right file. I think this is when I was running it earlier.
Okay. Yeah,
So
you can
look,
just open the file again.
yeah, I think I'm gonna, oh, it's, okay, I found it. I just couldn't figure out which window it was. I knew I had moved it down. I just didn't move down far enough. All right, so refresh this.
Good. So we see that numbers 213 and 214 are still look great.
Yep.
So let's go back to your test. The reason I like this, I mean, it's pedantic, but the reason I like this slightly better is we're not kind of overloading, just making everything 0. We're kind of really specifically saying we have kind of a normal buffer here. We're just only reading one thing out of it. And this is the specifically testing when length read is 0.
So therefore the comment is spot on correct.
Exactly, yeah. I'm curious, why was there a code failing before, though? Let's hit Control-D a couple times. And what was different with the old one? I must have just completely been misreading one line or something.
We were putting empty quotes in before.
Maybe it's the fact that we weren't doing buffer.alloc before.
Yeah, we tried it for a while where we were just putting buff in for the first parameter.
I think that's probably what it was. I think what happens here, as I understand it, now that I'm better understanding this API, which I admittedly haven't worked with before, I think that buffer you're allocating is what's going to be filled in with the bytes from the other buffer that are coming in from the read. So it's returning a buffer that's going to be of buff length still, but it's populated with all nulls because you're reading 0 things into it.
Okay.
Whereas in the code below, you're reading the entire length of the buffer into a buffer of the same size. And then when you do a deep comparison of it, it's going to look the same because you've read all the bytes from the buffer into a buffer of the same size.
Right.
And there we have it. I think that's reasonable. And it makes sense that the two buffers aren't equal because one's empty and one has a bunch of empty bytes and one has not.
Correct.
So if we do what I would do next now is let's see if our linting's fine. So we can go make lint.
God. My cat comes in. She wants attention. She just doesn't give up.
And I think we have pretty much a pull request ready here once our linting passes.
Excellent.
You can still change hello FS promises to a football reference if you want, though.
All right, say the last sentence again.
So you can still change hello FS promises in that buffer from to a football reference if you want.
I want.
No, that certainly wasn't what was breaking the test.
I always have fun with recruiters from companies out west. You know, all the big companies, they always hit me up like, it's like I'm in their Rolodex and like literally it's like every 6 months, you know, they reach out. Are you interested in like moving out west, out to California or to Seattle? And I'm like, no. So, you guys don't have SEC football. So yeah, I can't move out there.
So what we can do now is the same as our first pull request where we were just adding comments in. We basically can create the exact same thing where we commit this code to a new branch. So we can go check out -b, maybe fs coverage or something, or fs promises coverage. Yeah. And And then as we commit it, we're going to add a commit message that has test colon is the head of it because we're in the test in lowercase actually, all lowercase. This is the node subsystem that we're committing to is the testing suite. We're going to give a description of it's going to be increased test coverage for I guess handle.read or I think fs.promises.read. fs.promises.read. I might even say not say .read because it's not actually on that. I'd say fs.promises space read helper or read method. Maybe read method. And our commit's too long now for linking. Let's take a look here to make the of it. I might just get rid of method and just call it fs promises read. And then we're probably okay for length because I think they ask you to be less than 55 characters for this.
Is it 55 or 80?
55 for the commit the top level commit message.
That's 49.
Lovely.
And I've got to put a period.
What did they ask us to do that? I never do that, but
Well, one of the guys says that at the end of my commit, he wants me to put a period.
I don't think you do that for the title of it.
Okay.
I'm just looking at someone else's commit out of the blue. Yeah, I think they might have wanted periods for the end of. I don't know what they wanted periods for. I don't think for the commit message you need it.
All right.
Cavalier. Lovely. We have our more significant pull request. It's not just adding comments, it actually increases the coverage.
All right, so I have yours. See, here we are.
I bet you it shows up as a recent pull. Maybe.
So the push was to my branch, right?
Yeah. Did the push succeed? Go to your fork of Node.
Yeah, and here's what I ended up doing was I ended up doing it on my other account. So here's my node. Did you see it? Test. 23 hours ago. How does that work?
There. That should do it against the main one.
So you want me to do compare and pull requests?
Yeah, please. And then we can take a quick look here. We scroll down. It looks like only one commit, which is great. Documentation. You can get rid of the line documentation is changed or added because we don't have no reason to do that. You can put an X inside the parentheses that say commit message follows commit guidelines that we did. And then we should give a bit of a description about what we did. Kind of near the top here, and right above the checklist in the body. And we can just, what did we do? We said increase test coverage in by hitting missing branch and read method.
By what?
By hitting missing branch and read method, I would say. Yeah. And then if we scroll down, let's make sure that we actually made the code changes we said we were going to do. Accidentally commit something weird.
All right, so do I need to keep these two in or delete them?
You can add an X into the tests and or benchmarks included. And I usually do a lowercase x, and there should be no space after it. I just know that works. Yeah. And that should mean that start out is filled in. And if we scroll down a little bit more, I just want to see the code itself. Cool. There's all the code. That's great. And if we scroll up, I've never in my life seen that red.
Oh, it's because this is because I have Grammarly installed.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm an editor on Free Code Camp's Medium publication. And so we run all of the articles that people submit to Free Code Camp through Grammarly to get editing. So this is Grammarly, and it's basically, it's picking up on this thing. And like, I think what you meant to put here is read the word reading instead of read. So that just ignore that because I've got the Grammarly plugin installed.
All right. And then next thing we're going to do is create the pull request. Great. And then what I'm going to do on my computer.
It's going to take that a while to run.
I'm going to go kick off the tests for it right now.
Okay.
And 1 second here. CI.node. I'm going to CI like I did on that other call.
Now, do they normally run on a schedule?
No, someone has to kick them off.
Oh, so it's always manual?
Yeah. The ones run on a schedule on the main branch once everything's landed on it. But for pull requests that aren't being done by a contributor, someone needs to kick it off. Okay, here we go. I've got it open. I'm running build with parameters, certifying that your code is safe. So we both looked at the code and we made sure it was what we thought it was. And then I'm going to kick off a test for 22,800.
And there we have it.
All right, perfect. Yay, success.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
We should see more tests flow in there. And you can also flag me as a reviewer. I'd be happy to review it. And that's up a little bit on the right. Under no reviewers there. Or you're not allowed to pick a reviewer?
No, I can't do it.
Here, let me do it.
Now, and I'll do my other test. I can't do tomorrow night, but tomorrow, what is today? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Maybe Wednesday or Thursday at the latest. Work on the other one and get it finished, and then if everything runs okay and it does show that it covers that last one that we've been working on, then I will let you know and just send you a message in Slack and let you know that it's been done. So you can do it, because I want to make sure I get that second one in. Actually, technically my third, but my second test. So I can have.
I just
Oh,
added myself on.
Yep, I'm seeing you show up.
I don't see the tests flowing in yet. I don't quite know why that is, but it should show up with more tests eventually kicked off on it too.
Yeah, last time it took a while for it to kick in before you saw it actually go. So
Let someone into my house. We want to kind of, I think this is probably a good stopping point, and then we can talk about um, just feedback for the process after this call. Do you think?
all right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording then, okay?
Cool. I'll